us to be more involved in the actual interworkings of an aviation squadron. And what I mean by that is we got involved in scheduling, in record keeping, briefs, debriefs, pre-flights, even answering the phone on the duty office. We'd also work hand in hand with maintenance as far as making sure that when we sent an AW on a cross country that they were able to service the aircraft properly. As an example, we didn't take any maintenance people with us. We were it. So if you had to go to a base and fuel the airplane, you were the guy who had to go do it. And we did.
I feel like we were kind of like the voice of reason. You know, sometimes when you have persons who are well educated in their aspect of things, but are a little bit more elevated, tend to not be able to see things a little bit on the lower side. So it helps keep everything a little bit more cohesive instead of being stuck up here in the ranks and not being able to see like the bigger picture of things, right? Because as enlisted people, we're in that bastard spot, right? Where everyone thinks that O's don't like you because they think you're trying to be an O. Enlisted don't like you because they think you're trying to be an O, and you're like, I'm just trying to do my job.
Right.
So, but I think for us being there, we help, you know, shed a little bit of light on a different aspect of things so they can see that, you know, we're enlisted people are not ill-educated. You know what I mean? They're pretty smart people to be able to do their jobs and do them well. And it helps them give them a perspective on the enlisted ranks. And it also gives us a perspective on the O ranks. They're human too, right? They put their pants on one leg at a time. So for us, I think being in that unique position helps garner mutual respect among the ranks instead of it just being elitism.
You remember the wing exams. You remember all these things that we did and all the hours we spent in shops.
Yeah, I was going to get to that
studying Arcania.
Yeah.
I thought we were sleeping.
You probably could have, you know, probably a good night's sleep would have helped as much as for a Senso as learning some weird ass frequency found on one submarine in one Ackent collection.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And we spent so much time doing that. And I think maybe some AWs overcame our training at a particular point because they learned how the important thing wasn't to analyze a contact down to an axis. It was gaining detection and holding on to detection.
Yeah, absolutely.
Establishing that it was prob sub, maybe never cert sub. Okay. And helping the crew develop a targeting solution before the submarine could target the carrier battle group. And for years and years and years, and I don't know what the state of training is now, well, there are no Sensos left anymore. But so much of our training was counterproductive when we should have, what most people learn in their shops and learn from their leaders, is to learn how to brief, how to prepare for a brief, how to look for a particular contact in a particular environment, and be prepared to get the initial contact. Because there's a whole lot of stuff that people would go chasing around weird ass lines because they remembered numbers and they depended on rote memory. And they didn't develop enough of an understanding of the environment, like Tom said, or the submarine, or the airplane, or the systems limitations. And I regret that the S3 couldn't have gone on longer because I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I think S3 Sensos could have taught a lot to AWs and sonar operators generally, just by our environment, the demands put on us.
So, was the ability to fake it with great confidence. Because so much of passive, it was hard. It was just effing hard. And you were always multitasking. And so much of it was fuzzy tech, especially acoustics. It was, like you just very eloquently put it. It's like, yeah, okay, there's a Doppler shift on this line, but there's not one on this line. Somebody would recognize that, somebody wouldn't. It was tough to make a contact call because you could never be 100% confident. I mean, unless you saw the boat, threw buoys at it, which we did a couple of times. So, and the social aspects of being occupying a quasi officer's position amongst enlisted men and officers when you were neither. That made us all, I think it bonded us all together. We were all really tight groups. So I think I really think the ability to have a lot of balls in the air at the same time, just about all the time in every kind of situation, flying or not flying. I mean, because we would, we were like trooping down in our flight suits and our helmets and helmet bags and all that shit and da 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 da. And the next day we're, swabbing the ready room floor.
Tell me about it.
It was just, you had to keep it all in your head at the same time. But I do think that there was a lot of, because it was so complicated. I mean, I found it to be one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. And to be able to be confident to say to, your skipper might be flying, you've got a co-tac or a co-pilot, and you've got a TAC of 3 officers, and to be able to say, no, don't do that. That's the wrong thing to do. You're dropping the buoys in the wrong place. And if I'm going to triangulate this thing, you have to go over here, and we have to slow down, and la la la. You have to direct and choreograph a crew of senior officers, and that was tough. That was tough socially because it's well, sir, I think it would be better if we had a buoy up here.
What do you think?
I think it was an amazingly capable aircraft. Okay, I mean we basically could do just about anything they wanted us to do. And some missions that I didn't want to do, like tanking and stuff. I never did tanking, and I was glad I didn't do tanking and all that other good stuff. I mean, giving other aircraft fuel. We used to get fuel all the time. But it was an amazing aircraft, and it was a unique opportunity. And I think the guys that were in it, the enlisted guys in particular that were in it, it became a problem for the enlisted guys. And Roger and I had talked about this, Roger and Dan and I, because they had talked at one time about making the sensor operators warrant officers, like some of the foreign organizations. Yeah. Just to elevate the sensor operator, because what would happen is that you'd fly a mission, even a tough mission, and come back, and they want you moving sonobuoys. Okay, they want you doing FOD. They want you, basically, we as an AW and even as a chief when I was out there, at times I had to take my guys and put them on working parties that they probably didn't belong on, but there wasn't much choice in the matter. So it was a difficult transition going from, I'm a hero to, okay, I'm flipping potatoes over here.
Like I said, they were a little bit cocky, walked with a swagger. Because like it says on the website, there was a time when the only enlisted men in the entire world that flew off a carrier and ejector seat airplane were, the few people that were us. And there weren't that many of them, about a couple hundred of us at one time. they, well, maybe quite frank, we did the same thing the officers did. And I think we did it just as well, plus our own seat. You know, then we did the tackle seat. Uh, I think we were well trained. I think we knew our tactics, we knew our systems. We were very highly trained and mission capable, and like they talked about making us warrant officers at one time, you know, of course, that got shot down real quick. There's no way that's gonna do that. They could have an E4 and pay them, you know, E4 pay or something. But I liked them. They were a little bit crazy. I remember them BS reenactments at the club, Roy? The little club there at the BS
I
41?
wasn't there. You'll have to tell him about that.
Oh, they'd have BS reenact, and all the AWs that weren't deployed to go there. They start passing pictures of beer around, and then somebody yell, "Let's all dance." And you have not lived until you've seen 50 or 60 AWs at one time dancing on tabletops. They were a crazy bunch. I liked them. They were well trained. They were super intelligent. They were dedicated, and I don't have anything bad to say about them.
Nope.
Oh, well, the tackle, I always got along pretty good with the tackles. Once in a while, you get a pilot.
Yeah.
That's how you do more ASW than we did. And we tell them, you fly the bus, leave the ASW to us. You know, they give them the Falcon code, you know, and okay. But no, I had pretty decent tackles. I never had really any trouble. If I said I got contact, he's on this buoy, this is where he's going, they listen to me.
We're deploying, going on deployment, and you know, AWs, we take care of our ready rooms. You know, we make sure those floors, especially at BS 24, we were known for our floors. We need a new buffer. So me and Gonzo went out and acquired a new buffer. And as we're leaving on deployment, CAG comes over to the 1MC and wants to know who took his buffer. And he was very, very, very upset that somebody had took his buffer, his brand new buffer in the box. And so our senior chief comes walking in, and we have the buffer hidden in operations behind the curtain. And senior chief walks in and looks at the buffer and says, "Where'd you guys get that?" We're like, "Well, you know, we acquired it." And he said, "You know, we're all going to be in a world of trouble if CAG finds that buffer." So we grinded off the serial numbers, stamped in new ones, got wax and dirt and everything, threw it on there to make it look old. And as we're doing that, our XO walks in and sees what we're doing. Just turned and walked the other way because he didn't want no part of plausible deniability.
The only problem was that was the buffer. When I was in the ASMOD, that was the one we were supposed to use because we had the vestibule right outside of the ASW module and across from CAG, right? And the Admiral was next to us, so these jackwads hijacked the freaking buffer I needed to use to do the decks outside. So anyway, and I didn't realize that at the time. Actually, I didn't realize that until just this week.